what's up, guys? It's Joe with another NB Roundtable, and this time we're going to be comparing the Nintendo 3DS to the PS Vita.
So first of all, we're going to discuss some of the pros of the Vita and some of the pros of the 3DS, and we're just going to go back and forth and see what we can figure out. So some of the pros I thought from the Vita were that it has superior graphics, a touchscreen, a front and back VGA camera, PlayStation Network, backwards compatible with PSP downloadable titles, but not with the UMD discs, and multiplayer via the PlayStation Network. So what are some of the cons you guys find in the Vita?
Personally, if you remember not too long ago, we had the PlayStation Network hacking, which I think is a big impact for whether or not people will buy the Vita and whether they actually trust Sony as a company or not. And also, the PS Vita is not out yet, and with the superior features, I should say, it seems to be geared towards an older audience, which could possibly mean less people playing. Whereas for the 3DS, it's geared more towards a larger audience, which means probably more people playing.
I can see that, but do you think that with the, PSP Vita coming out and the hardware they're going to be using and the new firmware, do you think somehow they're going to be make it like the PlayStation Network overall safer with all this new stuff? Like, do you think it's really like if they do hack the stuff, do you think it'll severely affect the PSP Vita? Because you know how it's going to be running on downloadable titles.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens if they do hack the PSN network again and no one can download games? Like, what'll come from that?
Probably Sony as a company is just going to continue to go downhill. But I think that hopefully whenever the Vita comes out, if it is going to be successful at all, they definitely don't need to have that happen again. And I think that the sales are probably going to be slow at first for the Vita because of that, and people will probably just watch it play out kind of like people are doing with the 3DS right now.
Well, talking about price, though, at the PS Vita, it's going to be more expensive than the 3DS by like $90. How do you think that's going to work? Do you think people are going to just go to the 3DS because of the price difference?
I think that the price is going to be a big deal depending on, how the 3DS does with the new price drop. But we also have to look at the pros and cons coming up. So some of the pros that I found are like the glasses free thing. It's backward compatible with DS games. The Nintendo eShop. What are some pros you guys have found?
Well, some of the things that I'm really looking forward to are the games like Mario Kart 7, Luigi's Mansion 2, and Star Fox 3D that are coming out soon. Online play on some of the games, colors like Cosmo Black, Aqua Blue, and Flame Red that's coming out on September 9th. The Ambassador program that we've been talking about. There's some cheap deals going on because of the price cut. Pokemon Rumble Blast is coming out soon, and other Pokemon titles will be good in the future.
Yeah, and whenever you were talking about games that are coming out, I'm definitely looking forward to other Pokemon games because I'm a Pokemon gamer myself, so hopefully we'll see like a remake of Colosseum. However, everything does have its con, and the con to the 3DS are not very many titles are available currently, even though there's going to be really good ones, like you said, like Mario Kart 7 coming out in the future. The battery life could definitely be better, but if you're not traveling a lot and you're playing your 3DS at home, you probably have it plugged in. And if you are outside, I noticed that my 3DS is really reflective to the sun, which is kind of annoying, and it gets easily scratched, so you should probably get it a case. And I have Rayman 3DS for my 3DS, and I noticed the sound is kind of bad on it. And then there's also the people that are a little bit angry at Nintendo for not localizing games like Xenoblade, which, although it's for the Nintendo Wii, and it could possibly get localized, it's not right now, and that can turn some fans away. And then some people that have already gotten the 3DS are a little unsure about the price cut.
So I can see what you mean about the titles like Rayman 3DS. And do you honestly think that the Nintendo titles for the 3DS will be able to compare to Sony's Vita, which is going to be releasing like Uncharted, Golden Abyss, Killzone, Wipeout, Resistance, Little Big Planet, Call of Duty? Do you really think that those games, which are like, perfected, the music tracks are nice, compared to Rayman where the music's off, do you think they'll be able to, face off against each other?
Yeah, I think they will be able to compete because the Nintendo audience is way different than the Sony audience. Like, Nintendo has, like, specific games that people are fans of, like Star Fox, which is coming out, Luigi's Mansion, you have Mario Kart, you have Super Mario Land 3D. While the PS Vita has games like Uncharted, Street Fighter Cross Tekken, Call of Duty, games that are for older people, really, or for people that have a different taste in games is probably the better way to put it. Then you throw games like Little Big Planet in there, so it's a pretty good variety of games. But the one issue that I see with a game like Call of Duty on the PS Vita that will make it sort of a non-factor in some senses is that there's not going to be a solid online feel, really. I've never seen a handheld game really be that successful in terms of online. I don't know what you guys think, but like Call of Duty Online is really, when I think of that, I think of Xbox 360, PS3, computer. I don't really think PS Vita or Nintendo 3DS.
I agree on that. The thing I used to play my PSP and the main, big like shooter was SOCOM that went online, and I think that was one of the most successful things they had. But nowadays, I can't really see a shooter game, working on a touch screen like the Vita's gonna be. I just feel like the controls are gonna be off, and it's gonna be much easier to just go to a console if you want to play Call of Duty or something. So it's gonna make the online a little more, difficult to use. But I just don't know how everything's going to work out with the Vita since we don't have access to it. We don't know how Call of Duty's going to play on it, or
And
what the
something for
online
like
feature.
with online, as far as online goes, I mean, you lose the whole like where you can talk with people on a mic. You lose a lot of that kind of stuff. Because I doubt there's going to be like a mic that works where you plug it into the Vita and you can talk with whoever. And I don't know.
They had one for the PSP, but it wasn't very good. Like it wasn't clear quality. You could like kind of hear the other players. I just think it's gonna be a little easier for people to go hook up their PS3 or like 360 and play that instead of sticking with the Vita.
And going back to actually talking about having an FPS on a handheld, it's a completely different experience, like you guys were saying, because you're holding it in your hands and actually having to look down at it. Whereas if you're playing it on a TV, it's right in front of you on your TV screen. You actually have a controller in your hand instead of like this huge device. Not that the PS Vita is big, but it's just a completely different feel from having an actual controller versus a handheld. One thing that I definitely don't like about the Nintendo 3DS that most of the previous DSs had, with the exception of DSi's, is not returning the GBA slot. And I know it's probably because of its size, but still, I have a lot of GBA games that I would like to play in my 3DS instead of having to whip out my old DS to play them.
I guess that's something
Cool.
where the Vita has its ups because the Vita will be able to download old titles even if you can't run them on UMD.
Yes, and unfortunately for the 3DS eShop, I know that not all the GBA games that I have are going to be released on the eShop for downloading, which is going to cost me extra money whenever I already have these games that I could be playing on the 3DS if it only had a GBA slot.
So now that we've discussed the two systems, Roger and Cuddle, if you had to pick one, which one would it be?
So after looking at all that stuff, I still think I would go for the 3DS just because I don't really know what's going on with Vita. I don't really know what games are going to be, big on it, how it's going to run. And I've seen the 3DS, I've played it, so I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with that choice.
Although I currently own a 3DS, I'm actually going to see how the Vita plays out, so I'm going to give the Vita a shot.
Yeah, well, I really like the 3DS, all the games, the eShop, so definitely my choice would be the 3DS. After hearing us discuss both consoles, what are your thoughts on them, and which one would you pick? Leave your comments below. If you guys enjoyed Cuddle and Rodri, make sure to click their icons and subscribe to their channels. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.